What up, bitches, and welcome to the sixth episode of the FBG's podcast. Woohoo! Thank you guys so much for joining me on the couch today. I can't believe we've been doing this for 6 weeks, and if you're tuning in, I love you, and if you've been watching from the start, I also love you. Someone mentioned to me the other day that they wish that the episodes were longer because they're between like 15 minutes and 30 minutes, and I'd love to do them longer. I thought that doing them shorter would be better because an hour and a half out of someone's day is quite a lot, and I thought that like shorter episodes would be more manageable. But if you guys want me to do longer, I definitely can. But interesting fact, if you haven't noticed, with the pod, I press record, I sit down, I start speaking, I say goodbye, and then I press off. I don't do any cuts. All I do is chop off the start and the end of me like pressing the camera. So talking for an hour and a half without any of that would be pretty scary. And I can edit it, of course I can. It's just that I'm so busy as it is, as you know, if you watch my TikTok vlogs at least. So we'll see how it goes. And I will try to do longer ones, but you might have to bear with me if I pause for a second and collect my bearings because it can be really intimidating. Pressing record and then speaking because I need to like note what I've said, what I'm going to say, what I am saying, and piecing it all together in a way that's entertaining, doesn't have any plot holes, and all that stuff. I love it though. But, anyways, so I am back into uni. I was on semester break the past 2 weeks, and then today, it's Wednesday that I'm filming this, and I started off studying, and then I had some lunch, and I started watching You, the Netflix show, and then I watched all of it today. I did a little bit of study, but I watched the entire series of You, the last season, and if you haven't seen it, the Netflix show, you need to watch it. I just finished it before I came to film the pod, and I'm just like, oh my god. I'm a little bit shocked, I guess. Like, not like shocked, it's a fucking stupid Netflix show, but holy shit, that last episode was crazy. I'm just like, my brain is blown. But if you haven't seen it, such a good show. It's a little bit unrealistic and a little bit reaching, but for the most part, it was really, really great. Anyways, so yesterday, me and the girls, we went to Eat a Noodles in Auckland. If you haven't had it before, you need to go get C1 dumplings and spicy sauce. I normally get pork, but there's like pork cake. Shut the fuck up. Me and the girls were at Eat a Noodles, and we were there for like 3-4 hours, and we were just talking about life, about jobs, because we're in our last year of uni. And I want to do today's episode on kind of my take on jobs, life, the universe, and the meaning of our existence at large. So I hope you enjoy. So I want to preface this episode by saying, unfortunately, I'm not religious. Unfortunately, I have no idea what comes after death. I don't have the comfort of God, of heaven for some, of an afterlife. For me, the possibilities are endless. You know, I am aware of the fact that I could die and have my consciousness trapped but aware for eternity. So I just want to say that I am not religious. I'm an atheist, I guess. Haven't really been exposed to all of that stuff. I'm open to it though. I'm not against it. But that being said, that is my mindset when I talk about these kinds of things. So I never thought too much about life, our existence, the meaning of it, consciousness of it all, until I was in first year uni. So I was in first year doing this law and commerce degree, stressed out of my mind, and my dear friend Amy, she shows me this video on YouTube, and it was called Fertilization. And it sounds silly, but it was about how it was like the sperm traveling to the egg. And how do I describe this? It was like a like microscopic illustration of what it's like, and it was saying how out of 400 trillion sperm, only one makes it to the egg, and then that's you. That's all of us. And after I watched that video, I was like, sorry, there's hair on my hand. I won the race. I was one out of 400 trillion sperm. And it sounds silly, but I started to think about it on like a microscopic level, especially considering how I was studying for 12 hours a day, doing a law and commerce degree at the University of Auckland at a country that's on the bottom of the world, that's not even on half the maps. The next stop's Antarctica, and I was already stressed out, already questioning my life choices, considering the fact that, like, I don't know why I chose to do this degree anyways. I don't know anything like that at all. And I watched that and I was like, we are so goddamn lucky to have this life, 1 in 400 trillion, and I'm here. And I started to have a absolute breakdown. If you were around me during this time, I apologize, because after that video, I started thinking about space. And I think about space like before this, but not in any depth. And I really started thinking about how space. I hope this doesn't sound like I'm a fucking idiot. Okay, this is my truth. Okay, it's my truth. But I started thinking about space, and I started thinking about how it never ends. And then I started thinking, who created space? Who created them? Who created them? Where did it start? And then what started that? And I was like I had a full-blown mental breakdown. I was like crying and hyperventilating most days. It was really, really terrifying for me. And that's why I say I unfortunately don't have the comfort of a God or a higher power. But then at the same time, who created that? Who created that? I mean, it just is. And like the Big Bang Theory, like, yeah, I understand that. But like, still, what created the atoms? It's just like, like it just becomes this whole massive thing. And I eventually called my dad and I was like, Dad, like space, it never ends. Like, who created space? And then who created them? And then my dad was like, whoever did it, it's designed so that we never figure it out. And I was like, you know what? You're right. And then after a while, I just kind of withdrew from that, because I kind of got to the point where it's like I could stress and think and ponder and theorize and conspiracize and do all that shit, but I'm going to come back to the same conclusion. And the conclusion that I kind of brought for myself was that I was 1 in 400 trillion. This sounds so fucking stupid. I was 1 in 400 trillion sperm. So I might as well just be happy and make the most of it, because I don't know. Some people might, and some people may be certain in their views, but for me, I have no idea. And I'm just going to enjoy myself while I'm here. Not hurt other people, but do my thing and all that kind of stuff. So that was like during second year uni, and I kind of parked it up, that whole existential crisis, for a couple years. Still doing my law degree, still thinking I'm going to finish my law degree, go into a firm and work till I'm 65. And then it was the summer of 2023, and I read Sapiens, which is a book by, I think his name's Yuval. I don't know the last name, but if you want to search it up, it's just search up Sapiens. It's very, very popular. And it's this really fat book, and it is about the evolution of not necessarily Earth, but humans. It starts off with, what are they called? Neanderthals? I think don't know if I'm saying that correctly. I was going to say, I think I'm saying that correctly. I don't know if I'm saying it correctly. And them, and all the way up until, not necessarily now, because the book was written a little while ago, but the Industrial Revolution, the impact of technology from then to where we are now. And once I finished that book, I was like, Jesus Christ, we're a blimp. We're a little speck in this whole existence. And after I read that book, I was like, damn, like, the Earth is like billions of years. Oh, I hope I don't sound like a fucking idiot, guys. If I am, we can laugh together. Okay, I'm laughing with you, okay? And if you're singing this into a group chat, ha ha, yep. Fucking hell, shut the fuck up. But yeah, I read that book, okay? And right after that book, I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And I read those two books in the span of a month, and then my whole life changed. It sounds silly, but the kind of the thoughts and the emotions and that kind of vibe, I guess, of how I felt when I watched the sperm video and I thought about space, it kind of circled back to me, but in a different way, in a more comforting way, in a lot less existential crisis, mental breakdown, hyperventilating, crying every day way. And I realized I don't want to be a lawyer. And I really started thinking about this life that I have been gifted, not given, gifted. And I thought about how the life that I have been given, I don't want to spend that behind a desk. I don't want to spend that in an office from 9 to 5 every day for the rest of my life, never earning enough money, going on a holiday twice a year for like a week. And I really just had my whole life turned upside down, and it was really difficult having that experience. That would have been at the start of my 4th year of university of doing this degree, and I always say that I'm so grateful that I stayed. I'm still doing it 5 years in, and I'm so glad that I'm getting the law and commerce degree, and I'm doing it all, and I've been stuck here for 5 years working my ass off 12 hours a day pretty much every day, getting these grades, really caring, putting in all the effort, and that's okay to me. But, and this is all my personal experience, not my personal experience, my own personal thoughts, by the way, okay? This is how I see my gift of life and going forward. And if you're happy with your path, if you're a fellow law student and you want to work in a law firm, that I'm so happy for you. And don't let anything that I say as well, like, I'm not like shitting on people. This is, I just want to keep saying, this is my experience and my emotions, and it makes no impact what you do. This is just how I view things. So I just don't think that working is what we're put on this earth to do. And yes, I understand, like, it's hard because there's also the arguments about, like, we need electricity, we need water, we need all that kind of stuff, but I'm just circling it back to who I am and my vision and my life and my goals. All I want to do is experience. However, I also want to make a lot of money at the same time. So after reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, I realized that no one got rich off a salary, and I've always been really money driven for some reason. I've known ever since I was a little kid that I was not made for an average life, for a white picket fence, and if that's for you. Okay, I'm gonna stop saying this is my thoughts, my opinions. You do whatever the fuck you want to do. I'm so happy for you. If you're happy, woohoo! Slay, sure, let's go. Okay, anyways, I always just knew that I was meant for more, even as a little kid. When we talk about careers and people would be like, I want to be a nurse, I want to be a doctor, I want to be this and that, I just think, I feel that I'm made for a lot more. And don't ask me why I did the law degree. That's a whole other story for a whole other day. I think I've talked about it a little bit on TikTok, but I can talk about it more. But I did the law degree anyways. And so reading Sapiens made me realize that we were a blip. Reading Rich Dad Poor Dad made me realize that no one got rich off a salary, and going to work, it's like, you've probably heard the rat race. You're all just we're all just cogs in a machine, making like the 5 people at the top the richest, and that's just the way that capitalism. Maybe I could just be talking shit. Okay, if it's in the group chat, okay, I know I might sound like a fucking idiot, right? I'm too busy like advising fake clients on whether someone can drive over the fence. Anyways, okay. This is why I don't want them to be an hour long, because my brain goes all scrambly. Anyways, okay. See, I don't even know. I'm gonna keep going. So, I just want to make money. I want to do startups. I want to do my own businesses, because what I've come to realize is that I could work really hard for like 4-ish years or so, maybe 5, building my own company, scaling it, and then selling it for upwards of $100 million. You take like 1% and you sell it to someone else and they do the rest of it. You do that over and over and over again, instead of working in an office. And do you guys know that lawyers get paid like 65k New Zealand? And the thing that makes me care so much about money as well is that I've watched my family struggle so much, and I've watched others struggle so much, and I want to be able to give a life to my kids where they don't need to worry about where the next meal is coming from. Like, yes, I live in a nice apartment, but I'm completely broke otherwise. I live here for a reason. I have roommate horror stories, which I would share on here, but maybe, I don't know, but my flooding experience has been diabolical, like really, really bad. So I got to the point where I was like, fuck it, I'm living by myself, and even though it's expensive, like, I have no money to do anything else, but it's taught me like the value of a dollar and stuff, which I really, really like. But I want to make money. I don't want to I don't want to work in an office 9 to 5 until I'm 65. Like, I want to retire by the time I'm 30, because I want to meditate with the monks in Thailand for 2 months, and I want to go to the countryside of Tokyo and work on a farm, and I want to party the streets of New York, and I want to live in like the mountains in Peru, and I want to live on a commune, and I want to be immersed completely in culture, and I want to fall in love, and I want to get my heart broken, and I want to make people happy, and I want to smile, and I want to laugh, and I want to cry. And I want to do all that stuff because we are so goddamn 1 in 400 trillion to be given this life, and we're conditioned to think that we need to go to university and get a degree, then go work in an office until we are 65, getting 2 holidays a year for a couple of weeks. Climbing the corporate ladder, it doesn't exist, it's not real, because you're never going to get to the top of the corporate ladder. And like, maybe you will, but you're going to be 50. And that's also the other thing is like, I don't want to start living my life or stop working for other people when I'm grey and old. And I do believe in serving people. I do believe in helping others, but I've switched my mentality to be selfish. And I'm sorry to that to an extent, but I'm also not, because when I was in high school, all I ever cared about was doing things for other people. But maybe it was also my ego at the same time, because I was part of all these clubs, all these councils, all these like humanitarian things, and yes, it's amazing, and I loved it, and I loved doing it. And perhaps quite a lot of it was for you, like I said, the egotistical nature of it all. But I've come to realize that I want to serve others once I've served myself, because at the end of all of this, I want to be a free lawyer. Absolutely. I want to help people in need. And once I've made it for myself and my family and my loved ones, oh boy, the world doesn't know what's coming for them. But I'm going to be selfish first, obviously to an extent, because I want to help people as much as I can, and I love it. That's the whole reason that I post online, and I do this pod, because people tell me that they really like it, and at the start I said, if just one person really likes it, then I'll keep doing it. But to an extent, for me, I was given this gift of life, and I'm not going to live it for other people, for now at least. And that kind of perspective has its pros and cons, and I understand the arguments for and against, but I'm coming at it from a very, like, I get it standpoint, if that makes sense. But yeah, in high school and going into law school, I always just thought that I was helping others and helping others and helping others, that I never ever had enough room to care for myself. And after having that space mental breakdown, after reading Sapiens, after reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, it finally clicked for me. And I realized that, holy shit, I've been lied to my entire life. That's how I felt. And yes, people do need to work. We need the world to keep going. But if you don't want to do that, that's also cool. And it's not a lazy perspective either. I don't want to live with my parents for the rest of my life, but I don't want them to be living from paycheck to paycheck for the rest of their lives. And depending on the field that I go into, and I'm not going into a field, because yes, with the lawyer you can make money at partner, but I don't want to be a partner when I'm 45, and I also don't want to be working 12 goddamn fucking hours a day making these businesses richer when I could be the one running the business and needing the lawyers in the first place. And especially coming to the end of my degree, and everyone's talking about grad roles and no one wants to do it. Like, well, I guess some people do. Some people love to work. Some people want to do it so badly, and it's so good. I'm so happy for you. But so many of my friends don't want to, and it's like, you don't need to. We've been sold this idea, this story, this life that benefits a few people. The ones that benefit from our labor and our work, when we could take the power into our own hands. And it's really scary at the start. Because after I read Sapiens, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I sat with it and I realized I'm not doing this anymore, it was so scary. It still is scary, because in November, when I finish my degree, everyone else is going into their grad role. For me, I'm not getting paid $65K a year. Oh, hell no, you ain't catching me. But yes, I'm working on startups, but at the same time, like it's all on me, and that makes it really, really, really scary too. But it's also so freeing and so liberating. And once I finally made that decision, like I felt so much weight lifted off my shoulders, because if I was going into a grad role at a law firm or the big four or a business firm just thinking I'm going to be sat at that desk for the rest of my life, I don't want to do it. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I remember when I worked at a job at a law firm in my second year, for me, I would look around and I think, this isn't my fucking life. 9 to 5, not even 9 to 5, longer than that. Monday through Friday, getting the weekends, and that's it. Serving other people. Serving these businesses and making them richer. And there's definitely parts of law that are, what's it called? Like you get job satisfaction. But at the same time, I can't watch my parents struggle. I can't watch my loved ones struggle. And it's a balance, and it's also timing as well. Because 180, 90, 100, I don't know what the average lifespan is, isn't that long. And not having the comfort of heaven or God, my kind of take on this whole crazy thing is to just experience. That's just kind of what it comes down to. I remember when I was on Queen Street about to walk home, and these two lovely people, they were from a church, and they asked if they could talk to me about Jesus and God, and I said, yeah, of course you can. And they asked me, what do you think the meaning of life is? And I only had to think about it for a second before I answered that. I think it's to experience. And I think it's to experience the good and the bad and the highs and the lows. And when I'm experiencing those lows now, I'm grateful for them because it's all part of it. I want to cry so hard it feels like I'm dying, and I want to be so happy I feel like I'm floating, because I feel like that's what it's all about. You can even get into the whole more abstract argument of it all, like we are the universe experiencing itself. I am you, you are me, I am God, you are God, we are all God, the trees are all connected. I wish I was religious, because that would take a lot of this thinking away. And I used to watch like really scary space videos and like space conspiracy theories, and it would make me feel kind of comforted in a weird, scary way, because it just made me think that I was so small. But the beauty in that is that it doesn't really matter, and yes, it does matter, and we're on a floating rock, nothing matters, but nothing matters to an extent, I feel. It's comforting, and it's scary. But at the same time, I also really think that we're in a simulation. And you also know that when you zoom in on like ash from like a cremated person, I think it's like stardust, and how like the universe and people are so connected, and everything's goddamn connected. And what I just take from all of it, what I take from the crazy conspiracy videos, what I take from the existential space crisis scary theories, what I take from Sapiens, what I take from these finance books, is just that we weren't put on this earth to just work. Maybe that's the key word here, is just work. Because there is so much out there. I want to go to every country. I want to swim with animals. I want to save other ones. I want to do so much. And I'm not going to be chained to a desk for the rest of my life. And I'm okay with that. But that's just my take on the universe, on life. It'd be really interesting to see what it's like when we die. I'm hoping by the time that it comes my time, it's of old age and we kind of have an idea. But AI is probably going to figure that one out. We should ask AI. Actually, I might ask AI after this. Got ChatGPT Premium. what the meaning of life is and what happens after we die. And also, guys, there's going to come a time where AI is going to take over all of our jobs. So you got to get good at other skills now. But it's probably going to be like an all good thing. Because honestly, you know how there used to not be the internet and how our parents live without the internet? I realized the other day that there's going to come a time where our kids are going to be like, I can't imagine life without AI. Like, I couldn't imagine my life without the internet. It seems so strange. Obviously, it was fine and it existed, but to me, the internet is my life to an extent. It's going to be the same with that, and AI is going to change everything anyways. So we don't really know what's coming as well. We'll see. But that's kind of the conversations that me and the girls were having at Eden Noodles for 4 hours. And I kind of want to expand on it by myself in my little podcast room. It's not my podcast room, it's my lounge. Such a cute little space. That up there, if you're watching the YouTube video, it's like birthday cards. And like that's from like the Coldplay concert that I went to with Chloe. That was my 21st birthday thing. Just give you guys some context about what you see every week. I painted that one. I also painted that one. What am I doing? I haven't taken my medication today. I think I might end it here. I hope this episode wasn't shit. I need to listen to it back. And I need to take my meds. Okay, I'm gonna shut the fuck up. I love you guys so much. And I'll see you next week, okay? I feel like if this ends up in the group chat, ha 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 ha, I get it. Okay, I love you. Bye.